Yeah, you're just like looking at the screen and you're like, what is that red thing following us? Like, is that the
Yeah.
dredge? And next thing you know, your teaser gets crushed. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
that's exactly. I'm an idiot. This is what I am.
And how did it start out? Like, what was the origin story?
Too much alcohol.
Really? Okay.
Says if God wanted us to have fiberglass boats, he would have given us fiberglass trees.
It's for fishermen. It's not for taking the wife and the wife's friends.
I think that it's a really, really pretty boat.
And then there was a blur that went by and ended up in the cockpit, as far as if I can remember correctly.
Welcome back to State of Sport Fishing Podcast. I'm Nick Carullo. I'm joined with me, my co-host, Anthony Pino with Hooked Optics and captain of the Blood Money. No guests tonight. We're just going to do a little recap of what we both have going on right now. Anthony's back in Ocean City, getting ready for the tournaments coming up and what that looks like. And my boat is currently in Southern Bahamas, and we're getting ready to make our way to Dominican Republic. So what do you got, Anthony?
Let's talk about your trip first, buddy, because my stuff up here is depressing. So let's talk about what you got going on. You got blue water and island life.
Definitely blue water.
All that. Yeah. So
blue water.
The last time we talked, and it was just the two of us, you'd had a fuel problem, and you had to go back to the States. Let's just start there and go from there.
Yeah, we came home, got hauled out in the boatyard for 10 days or so. Had that fuel issue knocked out, a couple little leaking through holes knocked out, and put the boat back in, loaded up, and started making our way south. The weather, anybody that's been in the Bahamas knows it's kind of been blowing its ass off.
That's not normal for this time of year, is it? It's typically pretty nice.
Yeah, I mean, just not so consistent of heavy wind. I mean, we've been in Long Island now for 2 weeks, I guess. And I mean, we never saw a day probably under like 18 knots, probably. I mean, blowing, but it is what it is.
How was it? You left, where are you docked in Lauderdale?
Lauderdale. We made a trip out of it. The boss had the family on the boat. So we did Nassau for a couple nights. We did Exumas for a few nights, and then just made our way to Long Island. And we did some island stuff first couple of days, and then the boss and his son, and we fished hard for, I guess, like 6 or 7 days, and had some really good fishing. Definitely before the moon was really good. Slowed up a little bit after the moon, but we were probably seeing anywhere from 2 to 5 fish a day, which pretty damn good for Bahamas fishing.
Typically all blue marlins?
All blue marlin, yep.
That's pretty good for just about anywhere, buddy.
Yeah. Good. Saw some nice ones. I mean, we're kind of getting everybody on the boat used to pitching and everything, so we missed some nice fish, but it's part of the game.
How are you fishing when you're there?
Pretty simple, and we're just trying to, getting the boss and his son pitching. So just 2 longs, 2 squid chains, and 2 dredges, and then just clean right off the back and just kind of teasing everything in, unless we have just a rigger bite, but everything pretty much there is teasing in, which is fun.
Yeah, is that baits in the long riggers or or lures? I got you.
Just chugger heads
on 30s or something like that.
Yeah, on 30s, fishing pretty light, and then just have a big pitch ready. But yeah, it was working. Boss had a great time. I mean, they definitely saw some good fishing, and they were stoked. They're fired up, and I'm excited. They're fired up. We're gonna get down the DR and hopefully get a lot more shots. So
yeah, when you're fishing, I've never fished at Long Island. I haven't really fished in that area ever, but I mean, I've been there. So when you come out of flying fish there, you just fishing that little bank. I guess there's like a little bank there right off the.
Yeah, there's a little pinnacle there.
Yeah.
That basically like the furthest tip of it offshore is like 11 miles from the marina, but I mean, you could catch them as close as 3 miles, which is pretty nice. And then like 35 miles across the way, you have Crooked there. And obviously Crooked's been a super popular spot. You get to fish in the lee, which is nice.
Yeah.
Long Island, you don't really have that luxury, but
did you run over there some days, or were you just fishing?
We planned on it, but it was too bumpy. It was, not like that we couldn't have did it. And plus we were having decent fishing right out front anyway. So it's like, why are we going to go?
Yeah. I mean, that was as good as what you were seeing right out front was as good as anything that I heard from Crooked. I mean, this spring.
Yeah. That was good. I mean, and typically this late in the year too, there's not as many boats, which is nice. Usually that Bahama stuff is pretty packed, May, June, and July, those guys start clearing out, either going further south or Bermuda or Ocean City. So it's nice, only a couple boats fishing.
Was there a lot of people, or was there a couple boats there when you were there?
Yeah, not a lot, but yeah, there's, maybe the busiest day fishing out there was like 3 boats,
I gotcha. Was there a yellow Spencer boat there still?
I don't think so. What was the name?
It was a yellow hull boat with no tower, a smaller one, 57 feet. I don't remember. But the boy from North Carolina who was on the boat, I can't remember his name, when we were passing through there, was the funniest thing in the whole world. He had a pot with a plant growing in it, and I was like, "What is
on the bridge?"
No, on the dock.
Oh,
and I was like, "What is that?" He goes, "Oh man, that's a coconut tree. That's the 4th one I've grown since I've been here." And I was like, "You've been here too long, dude."
That's funny.
Yeah, he was just there, and I think the captain had flown home for a couple of weeks, and he was just there and just telling me about his coconut tree, and I found it funny, hysterical. I was like, "Man, this is gotta get stateside, dude."
Yeah, it's like having Wilson as his coconut. Or his volleyball.
Yeah, so I can't remember if he's listening to this. He'll know who he is, but I can't remember the boat. I can't remember the boat's name or the mate's name. But he was a nice guy. It was just funny.
Yeah,
he definitely been there. He was like, I think he'd been there for 3, 4, or 5 months already when we were going through there, which is not like a high season to go there, is it? So
yeah,
there was there's nobody there.
Yeah, that's cool. Since it's late in the season, a lot of those guys pretty much are basically ending their trip, and our trip was kind of just getting started. So I get to snag whatever mackerels from a lot of guys, which is nice, helping us out because there's mackerels are hard to come by right now. So at least down here.
Really?
Yeah.
We're catching them out front of Ocean City, which is not pretty thick. Might have to go.
Yeah. I mean, you could talk to 10 bait guys in Florida now, and it's like, it's impossible.
Gotcha. So, all right. So you're in Long Island. What's a day at Long Island fishing like? You get up like 10:30 in the morning.
Yeah. The boss goes and he runs his 3 miles every morning, 5 miles, and kind of get we fish late, so we kind of leave, I guess 9:30, 10, depending, whenever
You really do.
Yeah,
that was a joke. I thought.
Yeah, no, we leave at like 9:30, 10, but then you fish till dark. So you still get your time in.
Yeah.
Because by the time you fish till dark, you come in, clean the boat, have dinner. It's already 11 o'clock, so you're pretty shot out.
Yeah. Why you just fish that late? Because the fishing's better later in the day, or that's just what you guys want to do.
No, I mean, it just seems to be better in the afternoon. I mean, and that's kind of what's weird it is, and a lot of the boats kind of on that same time schedule there. No one really rushes out there. I think not saying you're not going to catch them early. I mean, we've caught them early, but I don't know. It's just kind of like the go-to schedule. Doesn't matter. But I told them once we get to DR, it's not going to be like that. We're fishing. Those are early days.
I found when we went to the DR, here we get up I leave the house at 3:30 in the morning, and we're leaving the dock at 4:15, 4:30. We fish till, typically get back in at 5:30, 6 o'clock, something like that. And I found that in the DR, we got very, we wanted to take it to the other extreme. I felt like, because we, instead of getting up the Salty Fair, leaving the dock at 6:30, which would be late for us, we were still how about we leave the dock at 7:45, 8 o'clock, which was fine, but I felt like we just took it to the other extreme, instead of being
it's a little different there because you're running, you have to run a little bit further there.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like you kind of need an early jump there, and I feel like those things are I mean, if they're on the fad, they're biting or they're not, so
Yeah.
might as well go
And
go start running over them.
yeah. So you leave the dock at 10 and then you start fishing at 10:15. And are you looking for anything specific when you're there?
Yeah, I mean, there's like a couple little points on that pinnacle or whatever you want to call it that I try to at least get to there first and see if there's any birds working or something, and also check how bad the grass is. There's certain areas where the grass is kind of almost unfishable. So obviously not trying to start in a grass zone, but yeah, if I get some clean water and some birds and start marking the tunas, typically you'll mark a marlin pretty quick of being out there, and you can at least start working an area,
Yeah. So you're looking for
we marked, and I don't know, I think I hopefully would like to say I'm getting a little better at least distinguishing, marlin from sharks and all that stuff. But like before the moon, like I said, we're marking a good amount of fish a day, a dozen fish or so, maybe even more some days. And, the best day, I think we raised like 7 fish, but 3 of them was at the end of the day. We raised like a triple of like 200 pounders, which was pretty cool. And that was, it's pretty damn good,
Yeah, it's fantastic.
To raise that decent sized fish like that in the Bahamas, I don't think doesn't happen all the time. It's pretty cool. Usually more DR, and 80-pound fish, but that was pretty cool.
So you said you were marking a lot. Do you feel like you were marking a lot of sharks? Did you ever have a fish shark?
Did I ever what?
Have a fish eaten there?
We did not, but the boat next to us said they had one sharked right behind the boat. And we had, we probably hooked 15 yellowfins and probably got 2 whole ones to the boat, probably 8 heads, and the rest just completely gone.
Wow.
Yeah, you could, once you start marking the tunas on the sonar, you could basically pick out the sharks that are swimming around them, and then maybe marking a billfish on the outside. That's a bigger, more stronger mark,
I got you.
But what if you hooked a yellowfin in the pack and you pulled the boat out of gear? The sharks are just swarm behind your boat instantly. So I kind of could figure out that I'm marking the sharks versus them, especially around the tuna. You're not going to really mark a shark, I don't think, out in 3,000 feet of water by himself typically. Not saying you can't, but
Gotcha. I was wondering because you were saying that you said you chased a lot of marks, and then some days you'd get bit automatically, and then some days I didn't know if you were just chasing around sharks.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I was talking to my boss. It's pretty cool when it works out when you're like following a mark, and then like you could basically look at it, run it over, and then turn around, and within like 30 seconds, the fish is in your spread, which is damn. That's makes the bosses like, damn, I got my money's worth out of it,
Yeah.
But there was like other, there probably 10 other situations where like I had the same mark, run them over. I'd mark them on the bottom machine and look back and I don't see them, but some of those times the light's not good. And I was willing to bet that some of those fish were actually in the spread and probably behind the longs or something, and we just didn't see them. But
yeah,
we had a lot of times that happened where, even if I marked it, you turn back around, mark them again, and then drive over them. And then you kind of just see him 20, 30 feet behind the right long, and he just wouldn't commit. And it'd just be one of those fish you see, he raises up, you swim at the right long, and then cross over, swim to the left long, and then disappear, that fish just wasn't going to eat,
Do you, when you're next time you're doing that, do you offset the boat to the back of the screen, or do you in the sonar, or do you?
Yeah, I offset it.
Okay, so you can still do this even if it's offset, because I do the same thing. But when you start to tilt up after you mark them on the bottom machine, if you tilt up and you're like at like 15 to 8 or 9 degrees, if you tilt, once you get up to that, start tilting up a little slower. And if you're in a turn or something, sometimes you can see them back there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like on the sonar.
Sometimes I wonder
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it happened a lot, but a couple of times I was able to tilt up, and I would actually, I'll be marking them behind the right long. And I would tell my guys, like, hey guys, I'm marking them behind the right long. And
Yeah.
a couple of times we would see them actually pop up on the right long. I mean, not a lot, but
Yeah.
it did
I
work
gotcha.
out sometimes like that. And you're like, that's pretty damn cool, you know?
Yeah, you're just like looking at the screen and you're like, what is that red thing following us? Like, is that the dredge? And next thing you know, your teaser gets crushed. You're like, oh, that's exactly, I'm an idiot. That's what I am. That's cool. And then is the guy you're working for now on the wire transfer, is he pretty new to fishing? Like,
so he's owned that Weaver boat for like 8 years. And they only fish maybe 2 to 3 weeks, probably every year for that amount of time. And they just did a little Bahamas trip.
I gotcha.
So we probably already fished more than he has,
I
the
gotcha.
past few years for sure. And definitely at, to this extreme with dredges and sonar and bait fishing.
Yeah. So,
before
but so
it was more, couple lures out, no dredges, stuff like that, So
I gotcha. How is he? You said when we were talking earlier, we're getting used to the whole deadbait trolling and pitching thing. How's that going? And
it's going good, man. And him and his son are eager to learn. And if they mess up, like, oh, what I do, what could I do better, and they have a good attitude about it. And obviously, they kind of know that learning in the Southern Bahamas probably isn't the best place to learn. But that's why they're excited for DR. And like I said, we had some heartbreaks. They were pitching some pretty big fish there. That obviously the bigger fish tend to be a little harder to put a hook in when you're learning. So
are they super aggressive there like they are in the DR, or are they pretty more chilled out?
we had both. Some extremely aggressive. I had one fillet my hand open trying to stop him on the teaser one day, but then they had some just we had some bites where one guy's pitching and the fish is right there behind the pitch, and then just does a 180 and smashes the right long going away, and just total chaos. But it's part of it.
What so when you say you raise a fish on the left teaser, just for example, I'm just trying to, I don't know, I just feel like it's interesting how people all work it. Obviously you're screaming at the really top of your lungs because that's what you always do. But say you raise one on the left teaser, what happens? What do you want the boss to do? What do you want the mate to do? What do you want the other angler to do?
They're getting well, usually like whoever's pitching obviously goes for the pitch. My mate's hitting the LPs, and then I was getting them in the habit. The first few days of everyone was kind of more focused on the pitch, and then they started realizing that fish sometimes wouldn't tease in, and then would go eat the long going away, and then they get caught sleeping, not paying attention on the long. So we're trying to break that habit, and by the end of it, it was really cool to see like whoever was pitching, the other two guys were holding the longs, which I told them like, dude, if you look at the good programs out there, generally those guys are probably holding the longs all day long and never really taking a break, so
yeah. What do you think about that? Because we still do that to I mean, I've been fortunate to fish Costa Rica and fish the Sueño Series tournaments where everybody does hold the long, they hold every rod, but the frequency of bites is pretty good. Yeah. So you're not like, you're focused all the time. Now up here in Ocean City, we fish with that same intensity, but the frequency of bites, like last year, our best day was 9 whites and a blue, which is a good day, but it's not 20, 25 bites, Yeah. So, and my guys, they like to hold the rod most of the day, all day. For a while, that was the policy on the boat. But I started realizing that the people would just lose focus and
Yeah.
with the rod in their hand. And then once you're not holding the rod properly, you might as well just put it down because you're just asking for a backlash, you know, especially the guys on the flats. Like they would hold and then next thing you know, they'd be like looking up at a bird or something, or looking over, looking at me, wondering what's going on. And, you know, then they get crushed. And I'm like, well, that's what's going on. And next thing you know, I'm throwing it in reverse because we got a huge backlash. And I feel like I do agree with you that a lot of the best programs fish holding their rods and stuff like that. I just sometimes feel like there's a point where, you know, if you're not getting that frequency of bites, I don't think that it's as effective as say like when, you know, when, you know, instead of being like when you say, hey, right long, they're already like awake. You know, you wake them up by saying the right long instead of being them getting crushed, or even the fact that it's getting pulled on the long rigger, or it comes out of long rigger, and that's enough for them to be like, you know, you know, that's a whole nother can of worms that thing comes down and then they throw it in the free spool, you know. But it's kind of, I don't know. I do agree with you that the best programs, like they'll fish with the long riggers at the very least, if not every rod, with somebody holding them or on them. But I feel like sometimes in a place like the Bahamas or Ocean City where you're not getting eaten up all day.
Yeah. And I mean, the cool thing I think about also with the sonar is that where they're not holding it all day, but if I either mark bait or I think I mark a fish, I'll be like, hey guys, you know, I got a mark, you know, just be ready. And then they all kind of will pick up the rod and hold it for 10 minutes or so. And if, you know, nothing happens, I'm like, all right, guys, whatever, I'm gonna look for something else, you know, which it's kind of cool. Cause if, like you said, like if you say, hey guys, I'm marking one or whatever, everyone's going to be a little more focused than if they're just holding it there all day long, you know? Not saying that's not the thing to do, because like you said, I think there's probably a lot of guys that fucking do that all day long. I mean, it's like us fishing, I mean, you know, or they're basically working those rods all day, you know? Yeah,
all day. And that's what you need to do when you're in a place like that. But like I agree, like in a place like that or anywhere when they're biting, you know, I just sometimes think that people can lose focus and they're just like off in la land with the rod in their hand. And next thing you know, they get blue marlin crushes them and it's just a disaster.
Like so I'd like to know what Salty Pharaoh's doing, or at least what they're doing on a lot of their epic days. I mean, those guys are just JT and those guys, they're on fire. I mean, I know we spoke about it, 18 for 24 and six whites
or something like that.
I mean, that's pretty nonstop, I think.
Who knows? I mean, they'll fish with like 3 or 4 guys sometimes in the cockpit too. So I just think they're very good at what they do. They know where the fads are. They know how to work them really, really efficiently. And they know how to use the sonar and know how to fish there. And then they don't miss because they've been doing it forever there. So it's easy to say all that, and it's completely, I mean, I sat and watched the show all winter, you know. It's easy to say, oh yeah, I know exactly what they're doing, let's go and do it, and then you just don't, you know.
It's crazy. I mean, because if you even look at just the past few days, there's still a handful of good boats fishing with them, and they're still just, I mean, trying to talk down any of those other guys, but man, Salty Fair's just out fishing everybody.
They do,
but they live there, you know.
And they do leave an hour before everybody.
They leave an hour before everybody, and then get an hour back later. So obviously more fishing time, but
yeah, I mean,
they're definitely onto something.
Yeah. So I like the one day I was out there, they caught like 2 or 3 before I even got out there. But I was like, all right, well, they caught 2 or 3. I'm right here. Let's see what let's see what we can do now that we're here. We can just compare their numbers that we're here. They caught I think they caught 8 blues that day. We were 0 for 4. So they had like 10 more bites and we had 4 bites and we missed them all that day. So it's like, I mean, they're just better at it, you know. Like, I don't know. I feel like you just know. I think like me and you would probably know, like, get on their boat and be like, oh, this is kind of not terribly impressive. But they just do it better than. No, I wouldn't say it's not terribly impressive, but you'd be like, this is like how everybody else fishes, you know. And then you're like, well, they just do it better because next thing you know, you're like, man, we saw 10 today. And they're like, yeah, it was a decent day, you know. So, but going back, you raise a fish on the left teaser. Ideally you got somebody on the pitch and the two guys on the longs. The dredge is coming up. What do you like the pitch bait guy to do, or the flatline, whatever it be, the flatline guy or the pitch bait? What do you like if the fish is following the teaser? Say he's a mediumly aggressive fish that's interested in the teaser and he's going to eventually eat the flat. What do you, when he's coming in, like where do you want the bait to be in position? What's your process there? Because every process is different. And I teased a lot of fish this year that we just couldn't get the switch in the DR, and then on the way home that I'm kind of curious what other people do.
Yeah. No, I mean, just not that I'm no expert at it, but just putting a boat in a little turn and getting him to put it in that clean water right there, and just trying to find, the happy medium where to have that bait, not too close, but not too far. And we did have, for whatever reason, some fish, kind of teased that fish all the way in. And I don't know if the dredge still coming in had something to do with it, but they would already have the bait kind of in, a good position there. And a lot of those fish would just circle, I guess, under the boat, and they would go ahead and eat my other teaser that's still out there. And I'm like, fuck, I got line everywhere. And I'm trying to pull that line now. It's like, I'm like, all right, he's on, switch, go back to, so
yeah.
I don't know the reason why that kind of happened quite a bit, but
that happened to me a lot in the DR. I was like, have one fish hot on the left teaser, winding it, pulling it, the pitch bait's there, yank it on the last wave, on the first wave, and throw it into the turn, and nothing's there. Next thing you know, my right teaser's if it's on the left teaser, my right teaser's underwater. I'm like, all right, and then this teaser's going back out, doing the same thing. Next thing you know, same thing happens, is it's back on the left teaser, and I'm like, God, why did? I think we could have used a bigger, I don't know, like a bigger head or something to get their attention a little bit more on the pitch bait. We didn't use mackerels or anything. We just pitched a ballyhoo with a chugger. But sometimes I feel like you got to get something.
Oh, you're using a cup chugger?
A flathead one.
Flathead. Yeah.
So,
I mean, in DR, I guess you go both ways in DR. I mean,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we typically throw in a cup, so it's throwing with a bigger ballyhoo, and it's throwing.
Mm-hmm.
You would think enough water and enough body there to get their attention. But I mean, not saying, it did work a lot of the times, but other times, like I said, just that fish would either go ahead, start eating the other teaser, or go ahead and eat the long, something.
Yeah. Which is fine. But like, it's sometimes sometimes like we had fish that we would raise so hot and excited, and then we wouldn't get a bite out of them anyways. And I'm like, man, like some people don't, like, I consider that like a good opportunity that we didn't switch him off properly. Like I wouldn't count that against our ratio, but I would count that against my ratio because I felt like that was a good opportunity,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like some fish,
I would take the loss on that for sure,
Yeah. Even though
if you
we
get them
didn't
to tease in,
technically,
you would think you're generally going to hopefully get that fish to eat,
Yeah. So I did, and I was happy we went to the DR because of this, because I did start doing something a little bit different with the blues, which was like, if we were like going down sea and we raised them on the left teaser, I'd be like in a slight turn, like getting the teaser out in clean water, and then I'd rip it right back, and then I'd like so I could get the pitch bait out there in the clean, so it would like be an S, and then it would be a harder turn. And I felt like when I executed that properly, the freaking, like, you yank it and it would, you'd yank the teaser completely out of the water, and there'd be nothing, and next thing you know, you'd get crushed. And it was like exactly what you wanted to do. And I felt like the DR, if there was something that the DR really helped me, was that, because we get so worked up here seeing blues that, sometimes, I mean, some years catch 3 or 4 a season out of, 18, 20 days. It's a good year, but, I felt like being a little bit calmer and dealing with those quick fish, it helped, and being able to maneuver the boat to get like a good bite, and get their attention onto a bait.
For sure. Just being able to get the shots and learning that they're all different, That's why I guess being in Cabo and DR, you kind of get to learn. I mean, just being in Long Island, I was trying to take some notes on some days that, seeing fish that didn't commit and stuff. I'm trying to think what I was doing wrong. If up C, down C, side C, if I needed to change up the angle, I don't know. Just fucking trying to make sense of it when
you were
making me
marking
crazy.
fish and not getting bit.
Yeah. And then a couple of times raising fish in the spread and then not getting them to just commit to anything. But, a couple of times just you get fish swimming in the spread for a good enough time where you think you'd be able to present them something, but just never able to get them on anything. So
how long did I've heard some people say, yeah, this thing's been following me around for a couple of minutes. Like I can count the couple time on one hand that I've literally been 2 minutes has gone by and this thing's still fucking back there, I'd just be curious to see. I mean, I fish with some of these guys that say something like that, but I just never in that situation. And I'm like, man, what are they doing to keep these things interested? Because it's all I could do. Not if I'm going down C and there's a fish following me down C, I'm probably going to stay going down C. But I did notice that a lot of times when you do finally turn up C, what I learned is if I was going down C up here with the whites, if I was going down C and he wouldn't bite and there were one or two back there, and then you just turned up C and charged up C, the longer you're trying to do left long, as you were turning up C. But, some of these guys I've seen them, I've watched them be in a turn and, and they'd just be keeping the fish interested forever and then finally getting a bite out of it. I just find it fascinating to see what they would do, I don't know.
I mean, right before the last day we fished before we flew home a couple days ago, I mean, we raised, probably a 400, nice fish, and I marked them. It was the first mark all day. It was at 1:00. I hadn't marked anything. And finally I'm like, all right, guys, this is a really good mark. We should see this one. And, got kind of up over them, turned down C, and sure enough, look back and then I see this fish raise up, electric blue behind the right long, and, raced in on the right long. Kind of was swimming right next to it, then fell back. And then, I kind of turned a little bit the other way and then races over to left long and charges that, but doesn't eat it. And then just kept going down C for a little bit. And I see him in the back of the spread. And I'm like, all right, let me go back up on him. So I speed up, turn back up C on him, and don't see him. And driving. Then I turn the boat so I got sunlight on the spread so I could kind of see if I see him again. And sure enough, the fish was in a weird, in the middle of the spread, in between the longs, but not really on a teasers, but literally directly in the middle of the spread, kind of looking at everything. So I'm like, yeah, all right. And then we kind of drop a teaser back out to him. I mean, a pitch bait to him, and he kind of already falls back to long by that time. And I mean, I ended up spinning on him one more time, and he popped up in the spread again, which, I didn't time it, but it was a long interaction for sure. And to have him pop up 3 different times and never get him to commit, kind of it's frustrating, but trying to learn what I could. Yeah. Well, how I know some of the good guys probably would have made that fish eat somehow,
Yeah. We had one on the way back from the DR, the one I sent you the video of, where that was a minute and a half into our interaction with that fish, and it was a disaster because it was just me and the mate and everything everywhere, and I just couldn't. He fired in on the right short teaser, and we were fishing a squid chain with a mud flap on the back of it off the LPs because it was just me and him. I didn't want to shag grass all day. And a lure as a teaser, tease him in, comes on the LPs hanging from the inside where the dredge typically would be. And we're looking around, and right when I hit the start on the video, you could hear me say, "You pulled the teaser. You just pulled your mud flap off your chain again." And that was the 20th mud flap we lost from losing on the chain. So it's he just did it again. And that thing followed us around for a while. That was one of this. I was just kept on going down C because it was a big down C. But then I watched him, he came in between. He looked at the teaser. He followed the teaser, and then he kind of looked at the pitch, and then he faded off to the long he was going to eat the long, and he just swam by the long, and I was like, God damn it. Yeah. And I was then I I saw him go that way, and I tried to get out in front of him. I never could get him up again. So it's just, I would be curious to see what, some far more experienced guys than us with blue marlins would do. Find it interesting. Somebody probably done, I don't know, somebody St. Thomas guy or something does that.
Yeah.
That they probably like, oh yeah, I've seen.
I've played with the speed a lot too. I was thinking hopefully, driving faster or doing. I mean, I'm faster, slower. I did it all. I mean, sometimes I don't know. Are you playing with the speed a lot?
Man, when I was in the DR, we were searching. I was just trucking around, and I'd mark one on the sonar, and sometimes I would go from like in gear high idle to take it out of gear, trolling, and put it back in trolling valves the way I typically like the fish, and then like come up on the fish with the trolling valves, and then because I just like the way my boat sounds with the trolling valves and how if you're in gear in my boat, there's no real like going. You're either in gear trolling or you're out of gear. Like there's no like nuance in how I could do the speed. So, but I'm constantly, when I mark one or we raise one, I'm constantly messing with the speed. Like I typically kind of like if I'm driving along at 7.5, 8 knots and I mark one, I'll like trying to, depending on the situation, I'll try to turn down C and kind of feather it back a little bit. And that seems to work for me. Just have it everything slow down, and they're not typically. Sometimes when I do slow down, they're not as hot as they would be, but at least they're coming and you can get them fired up again. But I do mess with the speed a lot, more so when I'm around a fish than just fishing. So I anymore with the sonar, you're like just truck around till you see something that's interesting, and then I'd slow down. But yeah, I feel like I got a fish and trolling valve, and I gotta be able to just nudge back on the speed, just like a knot, like a half knot or a knot. Sometimes it works, and then sometimes I feel like they're too lazy when they show up because I slow down too much. Yeah, I don't know. I guess that's why we like it, because we don't never know.
So talk a little bit about you got some big tournaments coming up. Everybody up there. And no one seems to be too excited about the fishing.
Nah, it's been tough up here, buddy. I think can't speak for North Carolina, Virginia Beach, because I haven't heard much from what's going on down there. They've had at least a consistent tuna fishing down there, but we had one decent little push of blended blue water in early June that brought some fish, and I feel like we're just fishing on the fish now that we're here. The tunas now that we're here when that water came through, and there just hasn't been a lot of blue water and good conditions to fish. But last weekend we fished out. We did an overnighter. We left at like 1 p.m, went to fish to Washington Canyon, which was like 60 miles southeast of Ocean City. Fished there all night. We got some shark. We got tunas eaten by some sharks. Had some shark bites and caught a yellowfin and a dolphin that night. And then at like 1 a.m, I started chugging offshore to some water I had been eyeing up from a little bit of east wind, created a little condition out there, 85, 90 miles, and dodged some lightning storms all night as we were working our way out there. But when we finally got out there, it was decent, really, really nice. I would say blended Gulfstream blue, which is, we like I don't know. I've always found that our best fishing is what you guys would that fish the Bahamas and in the Gulfstream a lot would consider like blended blue. But this is what I feel like. If we get in the real blue water up here, I feel like it's not the right water. But if we get in this like kind of really blue, but it's not like electric blue, I think it's good. And we were able to catch 3 out of 6 whites in the sail, which was interesting because we don't see many sails up here. Yeah. And that was it. I mean, and then Raul on the Bar South and the Billfisher and the Sam Bob went out there, all respectively had good fishing. But that piece of water was like a little eddy that spun off the Gulfstream and was still very attached to the Gulfstream. So it's come and gone now. So I don't know what the tournaments are gonna bring. We still got a couple weeks till the to the White Marlin Open, which is the Big Fish Classic is their first big one in Ocean City. They did the Jimmy Johnson last week, and my buddies on the Roll Groove dock right behind us did pretty well. They caught a wahoo and in a white that they weighed at won them $90,000. So
Nice.
paid for their trip up there pretty much.
Yeah.
You know, between the tournament and all the fuel, running 100 miles every day kind of works out. Probably my guess is it works out to break even.
Yeah.
And then
from what I guess some of the guys are saying, I mean, I guess what it sounds like the fuel prices really haven't affected too many boats from what I heard.
man, I would say people are less inclined to just go out somewhere on a whim, run 100 miles or something that may or may not look good, you know?
Yeah.
We did an overnighter, so I feel like we had enough time to actually like take our time and get out there. But I think had an effect, but if the fishing was better, I think it probably would have had less of an effect. But
Yeah.
between the fishing being really, really slow and not having great conditions and the fuel price, you know, there's just not a great reason to burn $3,000-$4,000 of fuel, you know, like we burnt on that trip, 650 gallons on that overnighter, which is, I was blown away that it was only 650, you know?
Yeah.
But it's a lot of money for a lot of people, even people who own, 40, 50-foot boats that only fish here in the, put their boats on the hard, over the winter. And then they fish there however many days, it's a lot of money especially not to go out there and at least see good conditions, Yeah, it's one thing to have some hope and be like, oh, there's this new piece of blue water. Let's go run 90 miles and see if it's got anything in it. It's easy to do that when it fuels $2-3 a gallon. So, but I don't know. I mean, the tournament participation for the Big Rock, the Jimmy Johnson up here and the tuna tournament were all as good or better than last year.
How many whites were caught in that Jimmy Johnson tournament?
Man, not a whole lot for 80 boats.
No.
Let me look it up. It wasn't a lot. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like on a good year, the White Marlin Open can average two fish per boat for the week. Obviously, most boats don't even see a fish, or don't see a fish. They don't catch a fish, but on a pretty normal year, the White Marlin Open is like 2 fish. So, oh man, they already reset it from last year. They already redid the. It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't. It was better than I had anticipated them doing up there. So, I mean, the guys said that they found some good conditions. So, up to the northeast of Ocean City, to the east of Atlantic City, which is, is hopeful for us. So I'm hoping that, we just need right now, an east blow would be amazing, but I'd be satisfied with just calm weather to let everything get organized and have some definitiveness to it. Because, what happens up here sometimes is we get a piece of blue water. It's all working out. It's pushing over a canyon or something like that. And then next thing you know, you get a southwest or a west wind and it just blows it all apart. And but somebody goes out there the next day and oh, well, the water's, they say it turned over, but either mixed up or pushed further offshore.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I don't know. I mean, the tuna tournament had better fishing than I had expected up here. Some really, really big eyes, 260 or 71 pounds or something like that, won the tournament. Center console, Grady White, it's a very large tuna fish.
Yeah.
So I think, the lack of boats fishing kind of doesn't make the fishing seem, and the lack of an ambition to adventure, that's what the fuel price is having an effect on, not so much the people's desire to fish, but just the I want to go. People either want to do the sure thing or they want to just not go, instead of, but it takes somebody to do some adventuring to go find them,
Is anybody fishing, I guess, this upcoming week or next few days or anything?
Yeah, I mean, have a charter on Friday, and hopefully the weather holds for that. And then I have I'm running another boat on Saturday. So I'm gonna, people I know pretty well. So maybe they'll trust me to take them out somewhere in the deep and look around if there's
Nice.
something to look around for. But
What boat
yeah,
is that?
I mean, it's the Sea Boys, the 58 deep, Dean Johnson.
Nice.
They actually fish with me a fair amount in the DR. So that's we'll see if we have any conditions, but hopefully there's a lot of bigger private boat operations here that are just in kind of staging, just waiting for a tournament to finally roll around where they're going to go fishing either way or
Waiting for a condition
or so it's not great. Attitudes are pretty poor right now around the dock, so I'm trying to, and I'm not necessarily the most optimistic person in the world either, so I'm right there with everybody. So
yeah, Raul
hopefully
didn't sound too fired up the other day, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, if I had it my way right now, if I had the schedules for the owners, I'd just be like, if they had the schedule, I'd just blast off to Nantucket and go fish out there, because they have a piece of water up there, and it's really, really good. Mark DeCavia, who we interviewed a couple months ago, just won the Oak Bluffs tournament out of Montauk with a big eye, 150,000 or something like that.
Wow.
And they have had some great, really, really good fishing, but it's still 150 miles east of Montauk. So,
wow.
Yeah. So
that's a run.
Yeah. So that's like 300 miles from here.
Yeah, that's a run.
I don't know. Hopefully, last 3 or 4 years we haven't had great September fishing, but typically the best of our white marlin fishing is from the middle of August to the middle end of September. So hopefully it'll be one of those years where they're around somewhere.
Yeah. I hope so.
Yeah, man.
Oh, cool.
So cool, buddy.
It's pretty good.
I feel like it's decent enough.
Yeah. And then we'll get next week, and then we'll see where I am for the following one. I don't know if we have a guess for the next one.
When are you going back over there?
I think I'm gonna fly over on Tuesday, a week from today, I think.
I gotcha.
There's no rush, really. I mean, it's like I said, I look at extended forecasts, it's blowing its ass off, and we're in no rush to get there. So hopefully I could.
Is it next time you're fishing with the owners in the DR?
Most likely. I mean, unless for some reason I get stuck in Turks and Caicos or something for a week, and I'd say, hey man, I'm not leaving Turks for a little bit. If you want to come fly here for 4 days and fish, he said he might do that if I get stuck there. But
I gotcha.
So all up in the air.
I got you.
Did you when you went from Turks, did you go to Puerto Plata or you went straight to Cap Cana?
I went straight to Cap Cana. On the way home,
you did an overnighter?
I left at 7 p.m. when the wind dropped out.
Yeah.
And I got there. I think we fished those fads off of Macau for a couple hours. And I think I was there by 3, 4, I think it was 5 o'clock when I got in there. So we started fishing at 2:30. I could have been there by 3 o'clock, but it was shitty that night, dude. Holy moly. We came south of I guess Caicos, and it was all you wanted. Fucking 10 knots, all you wanted.
Yeah.
And that was the best it got. Sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
what are you going to do?
I don't know. Figure it out. I know the Sandman's, he's getting ready to head over there, and if the time is right, we might do it together. But he's not going to chug at night. But man, I don't know. I don't really want to go to Puerto Plata. I might just maybe do what you said and leave at 6 p.m. and just chug until sunlight or something.
Yeah, I mean, we can. Thanks
for listening. State of Sport Fishing Podcast. I'm Nick and Anthony with Blood Money. We'll see you on the next one.